Hi, I'm professional bass angler Jeremy Lawyer. You know, I make a living traveling all around the country catching bass on the Bass Pro Tour. I enjoy it. It's a great way and an exciting way to make a living. But my passion when I come home is crappie fishing. So when people ask me, you know, why one standard? Why are you starting to build this stuff for crappie? It's just because I've got a passion for that side of the fishing scene that nobody really sees on camera. You know, crappie fishing to me is a great way to have time with the family. We don't get to do that on the Bass Pro Tour. It's all business when you get out there. It's a great way to go with multiple people in the boat. You know, you can have fun, you can teach people with Garmin Live Scope, and they're a great fish to eat, you know. So my whole family growing up, you know, 3 or 4 generations of us now, always went and caught crappie and perch and white bass and catfish and whatever it was, you know, because we enjoyed that side of the fishing, and it's kind of blossomed into this crappie fishing. So that's why I was so passionate about being a part of One Standard whenever they asked me to start designing some stuff with a team of people in order to start putting like a tournament grade upper end class of product out there, and I couldn't wait to do it. You know, we've got some over here to where this is the Minnow 1. This is the first one we designed. I'll show you one here in the chartreuse. It's a little 2-inch bait. Really, really neat, you know, because the fact that it has a vertical tail fish profile. That's something that's not out on the market. So when we first started this process of trying to design the Minnow 1, you know, we got our first production mold in. This is a single cavity mold. We made it in a larger profile than we knew we were going to need, so we could actually get the amount of detail we wanted into it. Really fun, really good time. So we shot the first one, had all this ambition as far as just what's going to happen, and this is how it turned out. You can see there that bait is super stiff. We realized right out of the gate that this bait is definitely way too round, has no action, the tail's super thick, it's stiff, and that was the very first one. So we went back to the drawing board. We decided that maybe we could open that tail up a little bit, give it more of a scissor effect. It definitely worked good. We played with it some in the fish tanks and stuff, things that we could see in a swimming pool to where we wanted to focus on the bait under the water instead of just looking good above. You can see there we definitely gained some, and then we got down to where we really took a lot out of the tail. You can see there it really has a nice scissoring action. If that was in the water horizontally, that tail would do the same thing every time you pop that bait. And so when it came down to it, we decided that we wanted the relief cuts on the bottom, we wanted the split in the tail, we wanted the bait a little more narrow, but it does have some texture to it to where it's going to put off some vibration. And then in the end, what we ended up with was a very lifelike action of just a crappie bait with a vertical tail that the fish have never seen before. And on Garmin Live Scope, you can definitely tell that when you're around a group of boats fishing that they haven't seen this bait before by the strikes that we indicate. You know, we didn't stop there whatsoever. You know, we realized that the Minnow 1 will not catch fish 12 months a year everywhere in the country. So we started trying to blend a really nice upper end tournament grade style marabou hook, old school jig style that you're always used to, but in a lot more fast-paced, speedier, sexier looking design. You can see right there, this is the Minnow 4, and we wanted to really start off with a head that was going to show up really good on Live Scope. So what we did is we took, you can see right there, the profile of that head has a very wide space to be seen on scope. It has a great fish profile. It's got a lot of detail. It allows for a 3D paint job and 3D eyes. You can tell the eye right here is hid right behind the fish's fin, and that's going to act a little bit as a weed guard, but then we've got a nice black nickel size hook that sticks out appropriately for the great hookup ratio. And you can see here it's got a tail that's a nice marabou tail, and then we've got some flash boo in different colors that's going to be in a line of baits to where you're going to have a blend with a little bit of movement, a nice colored tail, and then the flash of the marabou, gypsy hair, flash boo, whatever you want to call it. But this is a jig that was hard to build. You know, when we started off, you can see here I've got a whole bunch of molds. We've got all different kinds. I've got dozens more next door in my other buildings. It wasn't an easy process to build what we felt like was a perfect crappie jig. You know, we started off with some different style heads, didn't really care for them, didn't think they really set us apart in the tournament world or something that we considered to be one standard above everybody else. And so we started messing around with different shapes. We decided when we got that one that blended a fish style head with the fin on top and then the profile for live scope, that we were really onto something. But it took quite a process. You know, it doesn't take a lot to do a lot of lead pouring. You know, this is just a Lee melting pot. I do a lot of it over here. It's simple, holds 7 pounds, I think, or 10 pounds. It's not that much. It's safe. You can use it indoors. I've got some other lead pouring devices, kettle styles, pour big 16-ounce sinkers, different things. But it's really simple. So what it did for us, though, was allow the process to be sped up super fast, because we didn't have to go back from the person who was making the mold 2 states away or 3 states away, and then getting samples, saying, no, we'd like to change this. We were able to allow me to build the molds right here, and a lot of that was done with a Dremel tool and just some really patient precisioning on trying to get the head exactly how we wanted it. Because the molds you get from Do It are aluminum molds. You can get blank ones, you can get other heads. They're pretty easy to scribe on. So now once I finally decided this is the one we wanted to go with, this is the head, this is the hook combination, this is the keeper, whatever it might be, I was able to put it together in one Do It mold system, pour it with the melting pot, and then voila, we could send it right to the production and have it shot for the master molder, and then we've got our minnow forehead and we're ready to go. It was a really fun process, but in the end, we were able to make every single tweak that we wanted to in a timely manner, and then come up with the best jig we thought possible to offer to the public, especially in a tour grade style jig. One of the more fun heads that I enjoyed making was this head right here from One Standard. This is the dock shooter head. You know, it's something that I really like to do. We go down to Grand Lake or Lake the Ozarks and shoot boat docks to catch them. But I felt like the boat dock shooting heads that you could buy around here could be better, could be some issues to where I wanted to solve all that with the head at One Standard, and I feel like we did. So what we did is, you can see right here, we got away from a 90-degree line tie. We've got that with a 60-degree line tie, and that way, what that does is, a lot of times when you shoot that jig back in a boat dock and then you're winding out, you're normally at a funky angle, maybe your rod's low, you're at a tight spot. You don't really get to jerk like a traditional hook set. What that's going to allow is that to slip right through the crappie's lips a lot easier. A lot of times you can just wind hard and lean back. You go ahead and hook the fish. You don't have to risk breaking your line or cutting it on something in the boat dock. And that's just something as simple right there that I thought really made this hookup ratio really go up, and then allowed you to have just a little bit better line tie. Whenever it fell, it would fall more on a horizontal plane, because most of the time the fish aren't very deep under a boat dock. You're more vertical or horizontally fishing for them, and so that just allows you to come straight out, pointing right at the bait, right to your rod, feel better, just the whole 9 yards. You can see there we put a 3D line tie in it, great paint job, and something to have as a must-have is a screw lock on there. You know, the screw lock's going to hold your minnow 1 in place. And I'll be honest with you, 2.75 on this 1/8 ounce head absolutely shoots like a dream. It skips, it's got a lot of base there when it lands, hits the water. It's just like skipping a rock at the creek when you were younger. Shoots way back in a boat dock, super nice. And then we topped it off with a black nickel straight shank Shaughnessy style hook. That was something that I feel like you have to have. It's a little bit heavier gauge, because with that style of bend, you want to be able to drive the hook home right in the roof of the crappie, or if he's going sideways, it pokes him right in the corner of the mouth because the line tie doesn't get in the way. Just feel like we took every component we could, blended it together, and made the best possible dock shooting jig possible, and just allows your hookup ratio and everything. It's going to come in about 6 or 8 different colors, something you're going to need wherever you're going to dock shoot all over the country. You know, another head that we felt like was a must-have is a bait head. You know, this is one that One Standard has as far as just giving it a really nice fish head profile, 3D eye, and a hook keeper that's back a little further on the shank of the hook. It's going to allow you to bite your favorite bait a lot better. It's going to allow it to stay on there better. It's going to get just more on the shank of the hook. And then we topped it off with a black nickel sickle style hook. You know, that's going to come in 6 or 8 different colors. It's going to come in 16th and 8th. But it's just something that's been really fun. You can tell it's really thin like that, aerodynamic-wise in the water. Really planes in the water, nice and easy. You know, and then we didn't stop there. You know, something that I really felt like, and the whole team felt like, that people struggled with, was tying 2 jigs on their rod. You know, we throw 2 jigs a lot, especially when we start fishing, to kind of see the mood of the fish, see what the feeling is, see what, you know, they're wanting to bite that day. And so this is the stacker head, and it's going to have all the same components as the bait head, but what it's got here is a line tie on the bottom. You can see right there it allows you to tie another line on. You've got your jig. I have these pre-made wrapped up around a tube. Pull them out, tie one knot at the lake, and I'm ready to go. I've got 2 baits on, and then if I figure out exactly what color they want, I'll tie both of them on there. Or sometimes if I'm just having too much trouble with 2 hooks, if I figure out which one they are, I'll just go back to a single hook. But the stacker head allows you to actually tie 2 jigs on, have exactly the same knot strength at all 3 places. You don't have a weak spot in your line because you're just tying a loop knot in there to tie that. And the last thing that it does is it allows this head to lay perfectly horizontal. There's no more cocked, laying on its side, anything like that, because the stacker head is going to allow you to tie those 3 knots in line, and then you're just going to have something to where it's going to make it easier for you. You're going to do it more often because it is easier, and then you're going to have the confidence to see which bait they like the best.